people telling me their stories, the stories that could make you cry, families that haven't been able to hold hand. Hold on, folks. I apologize.
Holding back tears here, the Premier apologizing, saying it was a mistake to impose random police stops, close playgrounds. Ford now also pledging to implement paid sick days after ignoring health experts' calls to do so for months. We are standing by live right now at Queen's Park, and the big question here, can the Ford government restore public trust as we grapple through this third wave? For reaction to yesterday and what is ahead, I'm joined now by Lloyd Rang, a political speechwriter and president of Lloyd Rang Communications. Lloyd, good morning to you.
What about? How you doing?
Doing well, and I should note that you have over 20 years of speechwriting experience from that very building there, Queen's Park. If you've written for premiers like Wynne and Harris, and so you're very used to what we saw yesterday. I want to get your initial take. Did you expect that yesterday?
No, I mean, no, nobody did. I mean, the premier got verklempt, and I don't think we've seen that before. I mean, he had a really bad day at work, actually really bad week at work, and I guess most people can relate to that. You know, there was the closures of parks, and then extending police powers, and then having to roll that back again, and then you know, half his caucus wants more closures, and the other half doesn't, and his poll numbers are dropping like a rock. I mean, you know, that's a tough week, right? And so I can understand that, and I think most people can.
Okay, so let's talk about timing. The big announcement was on a Friday. Yesterday, we saw this apology. So what happened in those days in between when it comes to his communications and his team?
Well, I mean, he got a lot of pushback, right? And that's the challenge for him. And you can always count on this government to do the right thing eventually after, you know, people kind of call him out on it. And that's exactly what's been happening, right? I mean, you know, since February alone, this government's actually voted down paid sick leave 19 times. And it's only after people started, you know, saying, you know, like really demanding it, and the heat got turned up that he kind of, you know, is moving to do the right thing. And, you know, like essential workers needed this a year ago. And so, you know, as much as he's being emotional now, and it's totally authentic and totally appreciated, but the time to be emotional about this was like a year ago. Mm-hmm. And I think most people understand that. And you know, like was said in the previous segment, you know, he hasn't been listening to the experts. He hasn't been following through. And people will forgive, you know, a premier for making tough choices and strong decisions. What they won't forgive is waffling and flip-flopping and not knowing where the government's at from day to day. And that's really the problem for people.
Lloyd, before I ask you about the what's next, if you were to help with yesterday's press conference, what would you have done differently?
Well, you know, it's interesting, right? Because the premier is experiencing, you know, home isolation for the first time, using a laptop for the first time. I think I would have done it like this, right? Like this is something, you know, relatable. Like most of us can appreciate Zoom calls. I would have done it with that style. I would have ditched the script. I wouldn't have done it in a huge backyard when people aren't able to go outside and enjoy the outdoors in Toronto and are kind of stuck inside. That's the way I would have done it. And I think, you know, just it's a little bit more authentic, right?
Lloyd, on a more serious note, you know, we're talking about the strategy, the communications behind it, but there are lives at stake here. So we really need to consider the science here when he makes his decision moving forward. How big of a runway are we talking for the public in earning that trust back and ensuring that we know the right steps we'll be taking moving forward?
Well, year's a really long time in politics, and it's a year till the next election. And the premier has tons of opportunities to turn this around. But what he needs to do is he needs to listen to the experts. He needs to be consistent. He needs to go out with a message that sounds real and authentic. He can't be scripted. He's got to be himself, in other words. And the guy that he was during the campaign last time was the premier that most people want to see. So I think what they want to see from him is real action and consistency, and that's what he needs to do over the next year.
Okay, Lloyd Rang, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for this.
Awesome.
Take care of yourself. All right, 7:10 is what we're sitting at right now. We join the gang over there. They're all going to be here.